Hey there, everybody. Happy New Year. It is I, Joshy T, the old Crypt Dweller. I am here with Otaku Crypt Podcast, episode 14, and I'm flying solo for this one, just because everybody is still post-holiday hibernating and such, and I don't know, I think we can all appreciate that at least, so no scorn directed at anybody for being able to come and chat with me for an hour while recording. It's a weird proposition most of the time anyway. But I just wanted to do a little cast. This is probably going to be a real stream of consciousness thing. I'm going to try and follow my notes as best I can. So this is either just going to be a really short update, or you may be stuck with 6 hours of my random rantings. So yeah, let's get right to it. So I do just want to start off by saying thank you to everybody who has been following and listening and enjoying the stuff that we do. It has been a pretty big year for us. It's definitely one of those things where you actually had to stop and look back just to see how far you've come. And, I always come back to the first attempt at what the Otaku Crypt was, and, those terrible hour-long videos on Vimeo, which were it was like almost like an old school chat show, but had like no production at all, and it's literally like just a terrible wide angle shot of me reading off notes with Tom and Pat to either side of me, and we're just rambling, and it was bad. It was bad. I definitely learned the lesson that when it comes to a video, 3 to 5 minutes is the sweet spot, and with a podcast of just audio, an hour is that sweet spot. They're definitely growing and learning, and I think we've learned a lot this year. It's really been amazing. We have done so many videos this year. When I actually went to, the YouTube account and looked at what we had, I think more than half of the videos are from this past year, and that just really goes to show that not only are we getting better at making them, but it's also that our passion for it is just growing. So that's a good feeling to know that despite, this is still a pretty small thing in terms of numbers, although in a lot of cases numbers don't tell you everything. Despite it being, a lower numbers game still, it goes to show that we're still really enjoying it and ambitious to do more. And yeah. It has been a really great year, and also just a thank you to all the people who worked with us this past year. A couple people in particular, Chantel, if you're listening, you have always been like one of the greatest people. We're always up for doing stuff with us, and you've got, way more followers than us, but you supported us and had fun with us, and love you dearly for that always. And a thank you to just all of my old cosplay friends who would come on the podcast just to chat with me, especially Patty Pat, who's been on twice now and is always supportive of my dumb things. She really is like my big sister. I've been collecting big sister figures this year, though. We'll get back to that because that's a funny thought. And thank you to just all the people who've been watching. It's been crazy going to cons this year because it is getting to the point where every like fourth card I hand out to somebody is like, oh, I remember you. So that has just been the absolute greatest feeling, that people are remembering us and are always happy to be in our videos or to chat with us. So thank you to all of you people. And yeah, so just kind of talking about what the future might hold. Going ahead is definitely going to be a lot different than how it has been until now. Until now, it has pretty much been just myself, making videos here in my basement, which is the reason this is called the Otaku Crypt. And yeah, it's just been a lot of me doing everything. Pretty much anytime I had an idea, I would try to make a video of it or something. The anime review show, of course, was just basically a reason for me to watch new anime and give my opinion on it. And that has, taken a bit of a hit simply because YouTube and anime reviews is insanely oversaturated. It's always fun to talk about a new show, but just me personally, it feels like a real kind of losing battle, because if you go to YouTube and type in any anime's name, the first page is reviews. And although I think reviews will still be a big part of the site and channel, I hopefully am going to be getting a new host for that. I do have somebody in particular in mind right now, but it's all a matter of when they are willing and able, and hopefully that will be a new thing. I, for myself, have an idea for a type of review show, but it's going to be more exploratory of themes and content as just opposed to is the show good or not. And it might not always be a new anime. I'm pretty sure I want to delve more into the classics because anybody who listens to the shows knows, I'm an old otaku. I'm a young man, but an old otaku. Really started watching anime when I was 5 years old, and I'm 25 now. So 20 years of being an anime fan under my belt. I feel like an old man. And no, there are definitely shows out there that are interesting and really high quality, and the reason other shows exist are because of them. And I think I've come up with the format that I will use to talk about that, and hopefully you guys will be seeing that very soon. Also, going forward on the note of other hosts, that is also going to be one of the biggest things going forward, is hopefully bringing more people onto this. And it's been a big year for that already, simply because, like I said, until very, very recently, it was just me, on camera, behind the camera, doing all the editing. It was just me. But as you viewers of the channel and goers of the site will notice, we've had a lot of people come on and join us with stuff. Patty Pat is such a regular, you might almost just consider her a co-host on a lot of this stuff. And she has a lot of stuff that she wants to do, which will come about when she kind of settles into her life. She has a lot of stuff going on, changes with her life, with a big move coming up, and she is engaged to be married to a very, very nice guy who I got the chance to meet at Anime North. And their place is going to allow for her to do a lot more of her work, and she will hopefully be doing more of a tutorial thing, which I think would be amazing, because Pat always has something cool to teach me, and she's always looking into new stuff. Like I said, she's probably the best technical cosplayer I know in terms of building stuff and building props and different ways to make her costumes. She really is one of the best. She's just not a big fan of the social media game. Never has been, never will, and frankly, I'm jealous that she was able to keep out of it as long as she did. So yeah, Patty Pat was a big thing, and of course, Big Sis Undead Do becoming one of our biggest, fans, and later a part of the channel with her unboxing videos, which was great because that was a great way to network. The guys over at Level 42 who do a monthly cosplayer picture and sticker type box. It's a really cool thing. It's very promotional for other cosplayers, and it is run by people who get it. And they became really big fans of us. Always happy that when we share something, when Do would do those box videos, they were always so excited about it. And hopefully those will be coming back. Do has just been a very busy lady. Very, very busy. I hear from her once every 3 days, maybe, because that's how much she has going on right now. But, a thanks to Do for being a fan and a supporter and part of the family. Like I said, you're part of my collection of big sister figures. I have a harem of big sisses. And the podcast becoming a almost podcast network. It's been a little slow in the lead up to the holidays, not just with myself, but everybody involved with that. Kat J starting the Intro Plus podcast. She just really wanted to start something, and through a mutual friend who's recommended to me, and I enjoy listening to what she has to say. Like I said, she's kind of a wizened older otaku like me, so the things that she notices about shows and franchises is very similar, although with her own unique spin on things. Every anime fan pretty much has their own viewing habits, which were pretty much formed when they were a kid, and it kind of forms their purview on everything too. But the Intro Plus podcast is something that I am very proud to be a part of, just being the producer of sorts on it and the editor for it. But I really look forward to more episodes of that. And also, Mr. Spider Dan Perry coming on the crew, who'd been a mutual friend. He's half of the Spider Zombie team, as I like to say. Chantel Zombie Bit Me's handler and booth helper, booth babe, as Dan likes to be called. He objectifies himself, so therefore it's okay, right, Dan? All right. And yeah, so the Con Plague report, which is Dan's baby, is pretty much on hiatus because it is the lull of con season. We're in the winter months when there aren't as many cons, so therefore there's not a report to be given. But Dan actually had some ideas for a new podcast that he's looking into, and of course, I'm usually a sucker for any silly ideas, and he is just a wellspring of them. And so you'll be hearing more from Dan. He's good times and a good guy, and I really appreciate him coming on board and helping as well. So yeah, it's been like a great year. It's gone from, a crew of 1 to like almost a crew of 5 at times. And that is going to be something moving forward as well, having more people join on with their own shows and bringing their voices and opinions to this, subculture of ours. And that is pretty much what makes this awesome. Getting to talk with your friends and share all of your views and opinions about what you enjoy or what you don't like. And that has been like a really great blessing to have the people who have come on, and will continue to be a blessing of people who will come on. So yeah, it's been a good year, and I'm hoping that this new one will be even better. And so just a few more notes on the past year. It was pretty crazy for me, the amount of conventions I attended this year. When I, first really got into anime, which would have been in grade 8, when I attended my first Anime North, just going on the Sunday to check it out, I was going to just Anime North once a year, first one day, and then, all the subsequent years going the whole weekend. And it has been insane to get to the point I'm at now, where I think I attended over a dozen conventions this past year. Even, getting out of my little area, the Niagara Horseshoe and Toronto area, and I went to Montreal for my first Otakuthon, which was a amazing experience, made all the more amazing by having dear friends with us. Patty Pat was my roommate, and we were joined later by Dew, who was our second roommate, and our buddies and companions for the whole time, Sarah and VJ from Sci-Fi Candy, who've also kind of been one of our biggest fans and proponents. We did some photography and collaborative projects with them, and I look forward to it. I love all the stuff that Sarah makes, and VJ is much like myself, a very creative director type, and he has a great eye for video, and I love working with the both of them and hope to do way more in the future. And so yeah, definitely crazy how many cons we have gone to this year, and that is another part of what I hope growth will bring, not only going to more, but branching out from our little pocketed community is to the point where everybody knows everybody, which is wonderful, but also sometimes feels like stagnation, which I think we can all appreciate. I still love all of you, but we all have adventurous spirits in us, and mine is definitely aching to do more after going to Montreal. My big ones, of course, I really want to get out to Calgary Comic-Con, which is always a big one. It has a huge draw to not only the local community, but, a lot of the international cosplayers and bigger names make time for Calgary Comic-Con, not just if it's something they have time for, they actively go. And, that, of course, has me curious to check it out because it sounds like it's an amazing convention. And hopefully that will be in the cards pretty soon. And that was, pretty much the year in conventions. Like all of the regular ones, like you said, there were new ones like Otakuthon, but a big and busy Anime North. Sadly, I wasn't able to actually stay overnight just because of the way my finances worked out, but I drove in every day, so I was there for the whole weekend, and it was great. Like, I shot one of our compilation videos. It was just one of those great, like, saw everybody and just had a genuine good time. It was, a good Anime North. I'm starting to feel like the spark for Anime North is returning, even though the past couple years it has just been a case of not knowing what to do when you're there anymore. It is one of those cons that has almost gotten too big for its own good, but luckily has the advantage of its venue, I think, which is, the Toronto Congress Centre allows for a lot of stuff to happen outside, especially, photography and cosplay gatherings and stuff like that, that other more like inner city venues don't have. Like the Metro Toronto Convention Centre is insanely easy to get to, but not the most accommodating for the stuff that I personally like to do when I'm at conventions. So getting more serious with the channel and the website has actually kind of reignited my spark for Anime North, and I'm feeling good about this year's. I'm going to be excited to go again. And staff there seems to be trying a new thing to hopefully counteract some of the problems that they have had organization-wise. And, I will give them the benefit of the doubt simply because that is a fan-run convention. That is people just donating their time. And I have high hopes for what they're trying to do this year. And, again, I'm very excited for it. And that's, closer than we think, under 5 months. So I am very much looking forward to that this year and enjoyed it this past year. The Fan Expo spin-off conventions, there's about 4 of them now. Always good to have, I think. Surprisingly, March Comic-Con has become a big one of the year, and it's probably going to be the biggest one ever this year, especially for us. It's going to be definitely a full weekend thing. And, they do the spin-off one. There's DTAC. If you go to the website, you can see we did a photo gallery for that because it's a very short one-day convention. But that one's always fun because it's everybody's holiday variants of costumes. And that's just been an interesting thing to watch because, again, I've been around for a while. And I remember when Fan Expo was a 2-day convention. And now it's 4 full days. And has 2 spin-off conventions, and their brand is being used in other provinces and in the States. So that has just been an interesting thing to watch this past year. And although the big Fan Expo in the summer is kind of something I'm a little bit over, simply because, it's a really big convention, and the venue doesn't really lend to the stuff that I personally do at conventions, in terms of photography and meeting people. But it's definitely been interesting to watch. So, that's pretty much all I want to say about cons and kind of our growth for this past year. What I do want to talk about next is anime itself this past year. It has been a weird year, I guess, in terms of my personal viewing habits. Might as well get this right out of the way because anybody who listens to the podcast knows I fell down the One Piece trap. And I have a history of this, though, so I shouldn't be really surprised that it happened. It just happened later than most. I'm a fan of many long-running shows. Through high school, our show was Bleach, and it was life. Bleach was such a big part of being anime fans in high school, just because it was the breakout show then. And I was really brought into it by a friend and later girlfriend who got me so into Bleach that I was really into the Bleach musicals, which, in case you guys didn't know they existed, there are a series of rock musicals based on Bleach, and I still defend them to this day. They're wonderful. Originally scored, and they did really cool, like, practical effects in terms of the transforming Zanpakuto and stuff. They're really fun. And, so that was the big show when I was in high school, alongside of Naruto, of course, which, I still can't believe is going, and I'm pretty much just watching still. I'm not watching filler. Sorry, Sarah, if you're listening, I know, I can't do it. I'm sorry. You're a better person than I because you can watch the filler. Naruto is pretty much a show that I spent so much time on, I feel obligated to finish. I think the story just got a little out of hand and slightly unbelievable. And now that they're in that giant filler arc of everybody's dream worlds and, basically alternate ways the story could have gone, I'm over it, but when it's in the main story, I'll be watching it just because I feel like I have to. But yes, so as I said, I have, a proclivity for watching long-running shows, and this year, after much personal hesitation and internal debate, I decided to give One Piece another chance and fell in love with it. The reason that I had doubts about it is anybody who is around my age and got into anime via, channels like YTV and for a while Fox Kids, which was kind of their Saturday morning cartoon block. They had a lot of animes that had been done by 4Kids Animation, which to us old anime fans we speak of as if it was a dark deity that was slain by the righteous light of fan opinions and better licensors. Quick notes on One Piece for anybody who did not see the 4Kids version. 4Kids Animation were the guys who handled shows like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And basically they were notorious for censorship, taking out any kind of dark edge to the animes that they dubbed over, to the point where I had this running joke about One Piece where there was when I heard the trailer for a VeggieTales movie called Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, I assumed it was a One Piece OVA. Yeah, that's my bad joke. But yes, the 4Kids version of One Piece had all of the edge taken out of it. It took the crew of pirates and turned them into a bunch of squeaky clean do-gooders. They took away things like basically the notion of anybody dying. Like in the first episode, they edited a gun to look like a hammer contraption with a trigger, so that it looked like he was about to just get bonked in the head and not like he was about to be shot by a black powder pistol, which is actually what happened. And, they were notorious for terribly changing people's names, although in the case of the character Zoro, apparently that carries over in the manga, because of, the Zoro character that, your mind goes to, and it was changed to Zolo. It was, a lot of the edge taken out, basically to the point where they didn't acknowledge the fact that they were actually pirates, and avoiding references of death, and just very much taking a show that was, kind of a 14 and up show and making it a show for 8-year-olds. So I had terrible hesitation about ever watching that, but I kind of hit a lull in anime viewing and was just kind of looking for something to put on. So I gave the original Japanese version of One Piece a try, because all of it's on Crunchyroll now, and it won me over. It's kind of, I say it's probably better than the writer intended it for it to be. It's, a very a very Shonen Jump property where it's a lot of the, the good guy ending up in a dire situation but always winning out in the end. But I really enjoyed that it has this great underlying theme of, freedom and, fighting against the establishment when the establishment is wrong. And it's, like I said, it's a lot better than I think that they even meant for it to be. And it has a lot of great characters, even Luffy as, a kind of lovable idiot. He grows on you over time, especially when he has his rare moments of, like, he says something so heartfelt and meaningful, even though he might not even know that he's saying it. So yeah, it was definitely, giving it a second chance has been very rewarding, and I'm, making excellent headway into getting caught up on it. I am past episode 500 and past the time skip and into the New World arc. And yeah, really enjoying that. It's kind of my show to put on when I don't really know what else to watch. In terms of new shows, the year started out pretty promising. Different shows, I think, was pretty much what we said. There's a podcast that I did. It was a roundtable with Gina G and Nails Noir and Grand Noir Cosplay. And we were talking about how there were actually new animes catching our eye. And one of the big ones was My Love Story, which was at least different in its approach of having a main character who was not physically attractive. He was, awkward and shy and, not your typical pretty boy anime body type. And, that was very welcoming. And, Wish Upon the Pleiades, which was a magical girl show that was actually just all sponsorship for the Subaru Motor Company, but done in a way that was pretty clever. I gave the show a watch. It's not amazing. It's kind of something to point and laugh at. It's very, like, squeaky clean magical girl silliness. It's something to give a watch just to watch and say you've seen it. There was a lot of shows like that. As of right now, pretty much what I've been checking out that's new. I have been watching a show called The Asterisk War, with the Academy City on the Water, which is a good watch for its action. My particular thing that I like about it has very unique weapons designs, and it's exists in a world where a lot of different types of fights can happen because it's based on a high technology world that has old world fighting of sorts. Like, a legitimate fight can be a guy with a laser sword versus a girl with a mech suit and proton cannon type thing, which is interesting to watch. I think the characters are pretty weak in terms of personalities, and none of them are nothing we haven't seen before. So that's been one of my newer ones to watch. I think it's fun to watch for the fights and the visuals. So you can check that out on that loose recommendation. By the recommendations of a friend, it's not a new one, but constantly has new seasons coming out, was JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. That was living up to its name. It's one I've been taking about 3 or 4 episodes at a time, simply because that's just how my mind is sometimes. And it's fun. You're kind of laughing at a lot of things, particularly choices of character names. A lot of, like, blatant references to 70s and 80s rock bands, and not in a clever way, just a very thrown in your face kind of way, which by itself is actually kind of amazing. I think it's kind of ballsy to do it, and I've been checking that out here and there. As for that, few things that are on my radar that I haven't gotten around to. Everybody's talking about One Punch Man. I'm seeing it everywhere, and shame on me for having not seen it yet. It is on the list. It is going to be watched, and I'm sure it's charming as all heck. Just simply, there's usually something to it when a lot of people are talking about it, the way that show is being talked about, which kind of leads me into my next point of shows what's gonna make a good show. I talk about this loosely on other podcasts, but my thing right now is what I'm calling the archetype problem. And kind of a good place to start for me is a while back, legend of the anime world, Mr. Hayao Miyazaki, since retired, put out a quote that was something that you want to lash out against at first, but when you stop to think about it, kind of was way too poignant for its own good. And Mr. Miyazaki said the problem with anime is that it's filled with otaku. And, as a guy who runs a site called the Otaku Crypt, of course my knee-jerk reaction was like, hey, what the hell, man? That's so mean. And then when you stop and analyze what he meant to say, it was actually quite on point. And he's basically saying that anime is full of a lot of creators and makers, writers, who are anime fans. And the problem there is that they are just seeking to make more anime. And what this leads to is them writing what they think anime is, which is stuff they have already seen. And, unlike Mr. Miyazaki, who is a filmmaker who used anime as his medium, that's a lot different. And this is why I think there's a problem with a lot of animes being utterly forgettable. When something stands out, it's for the reason of characters being different or a plot being bold in its choices and going places that other people don't want to go. But too many animes are filled with what I call archetypes, particularly in characters. As an example, anytime you've got a harem anime, your main character is usually kind of small in stature, nerdy, and awkward. The main character in Love, Hina, and pretty much any harem anime you've ever seen is whenever he winds up in those weird sexual situations where he accidentally ends up groping somebody or seeing somebody in the bath. These scenes happen a billion times. He will freak out, scream, and run away embarrassed. And this happens so often, I don't even find that funny to watch. It is like making a pop culture reference that everybody knows to the point of, yeah, it's just a fact. Where there have been a few shows that when they dare to defy that, it makes it a much more memorable show. And on the case of a harem anime, I think the standout of this year was a show called Trinity 7, which was an interesting take on magic in one way. It kind of made magic modern in a lot of ways, but it was a harem anime. It was basically about one guy collecting, air quotes that you can't see, various female companions to teach him more magic, and they're all kind of harem anime girl archetypes of their own. But he stood out in the fact that he enjoyed the situation. He, admitted to his, perversion, and that he was very much enjoying the situation. There's a lot of great moments where he steers into the skid, and it actually makes it a really good show. And I know it was a show I enjoyed because it's a 12-episode show that I watched in 2.5 days and really wished there was more of it. So that is just one particular example of, shattering archetypes. And I think the shattering of archetypes was done best in recent years through Kill la Kill. And Kill la Kill, I talk about it a lot, but I think it's because it's not only a standout show of the past couple years, it's probably a standout show of the past decade in the terms of you had two very strong female leads who were never preoccupied with being female. They were just strong and fighting through their situations, along with a supporting cast who were insanely over the top, but never caught up on these kind of trope moments that a lot of anime makers think is the only way to make shows. And I don't know if that is a cultural thing in Japan or if it really just goes back to what Mr. Miyazaki was saying in terms of the fact of, the problem with the industry is that it's full of people who are just making what they've already seen. And, I am always going to be an anime fan. I know that by this point, but I can really see that very few shows are going to be standout like that, simply because this, problem of archetypes is only going to compound on itself, because, anime is still getting bigger. More and more people are watching it, and therefore you're going to wind up with that same situation of when the new generation of makers, anime makers, is coming up, they're going to be making it based on what they've already seen. And although it may not be enjoyable, I think it's just a fact. But because of that, it's almost like, absence makes the heart grow fonder, in a sense, where those few shows that are unique and stand out are going to be that much better. Like Kill la Kill, as I was saying. And yeah, that is pretty much all I've had on my mind. I know this was very stream of consciousness and me just ranting a little bit, but I appreciate those of you who made it this far into it. And I think this will be a good one as a platform for discussion for those of you who listen to it. So I'm going to put those questions out there. Do you feel the same way about anime? Do you think you're just seeing a lot of the same, or I'm missing some subtleties to this, a little bit of nuance and such. Yeah. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think that, some of the things that I referenced were, a lot better than I personally thought they were? And what shows do you think were very standout this past year or even the past couple years? So yeah, definitely let us know in the comments of the YouTube version, as well as you can always send your feedback to us via the site, otakucrypt.com. So yeah, I am going to be signing off now. Give my voice a rest. I can't believe I actually talked for this long straight. Haven't done that since I ran Anime Club and just, basically did panel discussions. Again, thank you for putting up with this, and thank you for being fans, and thank you for liking and sharing videos and being great to us when we're at conventions. I'm very, very excited for the new year and very thankful to all of you who are a part of it. So this is the Crypt Keeper himself, Joshy T, signing off, and we will have more for you very soon in this new year of 2016. Again, thank you. See you, Space Cowboys.